Good morning, you awesome D&D people. Welcome back to another episode of GM Philosophy in the Morning. Today we're talking about one of my favorite topics, how to make players love your D&D game. And I have 4 awesome pieces of advice here that have made my games truly successful, and I'm going to share them with you, and I'm going to give you a specific example how to do each one. Stick around, you're not going to want to miss this. As a brilliant GM who loves running games, you obviously want players to love your games, your campaigns, your adventures. So let's dive right into tip number 1. Incorporate exploration and discovery. Players love to explore and discover things, and this is one of the best ways to make your games truly meaningful and memorable, and to make your game a game that players will love. Now, my tip for doing this is to go one level deeper whenever you're using exploration or discovery. For example, instead of saying, you walk into the room, you see a treasure chest, and inside of it is a bunch of gemstones. What would you like to do? Instead of making this the way they discover things, say, you walk into the room, it's very dark. Something brushes against your face. What is that? What would you like to do? Maybe they say, I want to light my lantern. Okay, you light your lantern. You realize that there are cobwebs stretched across the room. No one has been in this room for a long time. There's dust everywhere. You see that the floorboards are old, dilapidated. What would you like to do? I'm going to take a look around. Roll a perception check. You see at the far end of the room, there is a chest. It's covered, caked with dust. There's a large lock on the front. Now we go just a little bit deeper. And when I mean go deeper, I mean we take the storyline deeper. You see that on the chest is emblazoned a strange symbol, but it's hard to make out with so much dust on it. It would need to be brushed off. But there's something about the symbol that makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. Now, what we've just done there is we've taken what could have been just, discovering some gemstones, but we're incorporating story into it. We're helping the players to discover something, not just treasure, but discover something significant to the story. So that's one way to take your exploration and discovery and just make it so much better. You always want to incorporate story with the things they're discovering. By the way, do you struggle to come up with plot arcs on the fly? If so, I have the perfect tool for you. It is called my Ultimate Plot Randomizer. It is a free ebook. When you join my email list, you can download this for free. You'll get the link in your first email. It contains 4 D100 tables that will let you roll random plot arcs whenever you need them. Roll the hook, the conflict, and the conclusion, and even add wild and wacky stuff all right there. Download this, print it out, add it to your tool collection, and you will never go without another plot arc again. I give this away for free to help you create awesome plot arcs just like I do. I use this in almost every single session, and you are not going to want to miss out on this, so make sure you grab this. Tip number 2, incorporate meaningful NPC interactions. Everyone loves a fantastic NPC, and I'm going to show you how I take NPC interactions a level deeper to make them even more exciting and more fun for roleplay for the characters. Let's say that the players, their characters, walk into a shop, and they meet a shopkeeper. He is a pudgy, balding man with little bitty silver glasses. He's wearing suspenders, a nice shirt, blue pants. What can I do for you? He says to the customers. Maybe the characters say, yeah, we're looking for some rope. And suddenly he looks up at them and he's like, you're not with those crow folk, are you? And maybe the character is going to be like, what do you mean crow folk? And he's like, them crow folk that hung a couple people off the tree last week came in and bought the rope here. Can't say I felt right happy about the situation. Made me feel something like an accomplice. Okay, now here we have an interaction going in. He's giving them some clues, but we want to take it a level deeper. So what we're going to do is we're going to incorporate a bit of drama. How are we going to do this? Well, drama doesn't exist in a vacuum, and it has to be spurred on by something. A lot of times drama is a reaction to something, and then the reactions, other people react to the reactions, and then drama unfolds. So let's see what the players say next. If the players say anything that could at all invoke any kind of reaction, I'm going to have this NPC react to it. So let's say the players say something like this. Well, was it like a fair trial? Did those people deserve to hang? And then the little man's going to look at them. And like I said, I'm going to get him to react. And he's going to be like, deserve? What does that word even mean? Do you deserve to buy rope from me? And if so, what are the criteria? You know what? I've had just about enough of this. Why don't you exit my establishment immediately? And then you see a tear run down the corner of his eye. Now, at this point, this NPC interaction has gone from just filling in some blanks, giving them a little information, to being actually a level deeper in terms of meaningfulness, because something has happened here that is very atypical. Now, some people will say, well, GM Philosopher, not every NPC can be an over emotional mess or a dramatic clown. Like, there has to be some normal interactions. Okay, you're not wrong. However, in real life, we tend to have mostly normal interactions. But every once in a while, we have a wild one. But what are we doing when we're playing D&D? We're highlighting the adventure. We're not trying to just run a simulation of everyday life. We're running an adventure. And so what you're going to see are the high points. Why is the existential fourth wall camera even watching the characters role play in this market? Like, why is it even showing them talking to this guy? The fact that it is watching them interact with him would lend itself to say that this is meaningful. There's something important here. And when we don't do that justice, we're just simulating life. And players don't want reality RP. They don't want to just like role play all of the boring, convenient, well-mannered interactions they have all day with all sorts of people in life. They want to role play something that takes them out of real life. And so anyway, I tend to be more likely than not to make NPC interactions have at least a chance or tendency to go emotional and dramatic. And that leads me to my third point, which is give their characters emotional stake in the storyline. How do you give player characters emotional stake in a storyline? Well, you have to make it meaningful to them. And there's a couple different ways to do this. You can start with this with the background and then incorporate things from the background. But that's only going to matter if the background matters to them. A lot of times, the way that you build connection and emotional stake in a storyline is through multiple repeated occurring points of contact. Okay. And this is a very organic way to build emotional connection. And a lot of the times it'll happen with other living characters in the story, like NPCs or big bads or villains or allies or whatever. And the reason for this is because interacting with an object that doesn't act back is only so meaningful. There's only so much connectivity that can happen. But interacting with something that acts back, so even like a pet or even like a farm animal, I've seen players get very attached to their pets in D&D. I've seen them get very attached to even farm animals. We one time had a group that had 6 chickens, and they carted these chickens everywhere. They bought like a barrel, and they would put the chickens in the barrel when they traveled, and they kept these chickens for like 8 or 9 levels, and the chickens would lay eggs. But it got to the point where it wasn't even about the eggs. It started out being about the eggs, but it wasn't even about the eggs. It was just they had these chickens. They were their chickens. They're like one of the characters after the storm hits the ship and then everything settled back down. They're like, hey, did anyone check on the chickens? Make sure the chickens are okay. It just became a thing. Why were they attached to the chickens? Because in every single session, there were repeated points of contact. They would come into the room and the chickens would be jumping on the bed. They come into the room and the chickens would be running around. One time they find out the chickens broke out of their crate and they were pecking around, and then they have to chase them around. One morning they come back and they find someone has broken into their house, and the chickens are roosting in the tree next door. So it's like they keep having these repeated concurrent interactions with these chickens. And this got them attached to the chickens. This got them emotionally invested in the chickens. Okay. Now you can do this to a much greater degree with NPCs, with pets, whatever, but that is going the level deeper. That is the algorithm. That's the formula. Repeated, consecutive, consistent contact with something that interacts with you in either a positive or interesting or endearing way, a way that matters to you, is what's going to get that connection built. And so when I say you, I mean the characters. You want to introduce things and then keep consistently putting them in the player's path. Eventually, the player will develop a connection to this thing or person or pet or even villains. They will develop a relationship that is emotional. And emotional does not have to mean positive emotion. They could hate a villain so much because this villain talks smack and talks down to them, or because they keep targeting them or harassing them. They could love an NPC as a love interest. They could love their pet for being their enduring companion, whatever it is, right? Hey, real quick, are you tired of rolling the same old dungeon loot using these same old methods time after time, game after game? Well, I have a solution for you. This is how I roll all of my dungeon loot now. It's a book I created called the Ultimate Dungeon Loot Randomizer. This book contains 10 massive D100 tables full of awesome dungeon loot. Roll on a table for mundane items, slightly magical dungeon items, mundane weapons and armor, magical weapons and armor, individual pieces of treasure, magic scrolls, potions and elixirs, cursed items, forgotten wonders and otherworldly relics, and even full chests of treasure and loot. This book is now available on my Blurb bookstore in 3 different versions. There's a hardcover option, a softcover option that's more affordable, and a super affordable digital ebook option. It's even system agnostic, meaning you can use it with any fantasy TTRPG system, and you can just adapt it to the rule set you're using. Link is in the description. Don't miss out. Grab it today. And that leads us to our 4th point, which is run epic battles in combat. As much as we would all love to fancy ourselves philosophers of the TTRPG realm, there comes a time when we want to hit things with hammers, cast lightning bolts at things, and magic missile our enemies. Part of the reason we play D&D is because we want to get into D&D combat. This is why we prepare our spells, and we equip weapons, and we buy magic items, and it's awesome. Now, how do you make it epic, though? Here's the trick. Here's what you don't want to do. All right, everyone roll for initiative. Add up initiatives. All right, player 1, you go first. Player talks about what they want to do. You say, okay, you did 18 points of damage. All right, player 2, it's your turn. This is what you don't want to do. Let me show you how to go level deeper, make this way more epic. Player 1, what are you going to do? Player says, I'm going to take out my bow and I'm going to fire an arrow at the enemy wizard. You take out your bow, draw your arrow. You see all the enemies, their eyes go to you. You're the first one to make a move. You see the wizard reach for his wand, but before he can draw your arrow, whooshing, is loosened from the bowstring. Arrow slams into him. Roll damage. You roll damage. The wizard reels back, looks down, looks up at you. A new look of anger crosses his face as he pulls the arrow from his torso. You see the shimmering of mage armor. Your arrow was able to penetrate his magical defenses, but will it do so again? He throws the arrow to the ground and whips out his wand, and then he says as a free action, you think you have a chance? So cute. Lightning bolt or whatever it is, Oh, anyway, but see, this is how you make battles more epic. You want to give it some cinematic flair. You want to explain it. And sometimes instead of explaining it, like I don't like to take liberties with what the characters are doing. So I say, obviously, he pulls out the arrow, looses it from the bowstring. Like that is a given, but I don't want to try to take liberties away from the players. So for example, if it's something more than that, like if there's some kind of fanciness to it, I might say, describe how it looks, right? And I want them to describe it because I don't know how it looks. If they cast a spell, I'll be like, describe what it looks like when you cast the spell. And so they do this. And then I describe how the enemies react to it. And then maybe put in a little bit of smack talk, maybe have them react to it in a certain way, right? But this gives it some visceralness. And this starts to create relationship between the people that are like the PCs and the people they're battling. And this makes combat way more epic. Anyway, so there you go. That's how you do that. At the end of the day, it all really comes down to this. If you want to make your D&D games way more epic, you want players to love them, if you want players to love coming back to your games and you want to be known as just an epic GM, then what it really comes down to is understanding what the players are looking for, what makes the game special to them, and then finding a way to provide that in the gaming environment in a way that everyone feels excited by and in a way that works for everyone based on the way they want to tell their character's story. And if you can manage this, boom, you're going to make your game incredible. People are going to love it. And hey, that's all I really have to say about this one. Thank you so much for coming back to another episode of GM Philosophy in the Morning. I'm here every day creating videos about the best game in the world, D&D. So I will see you awesome people on the next one.